What are some of those things that you took away from watching film over the last couple of days?
Well, I mean, there was a lot. Specifically, probably spent a lot of time with some key guys offensively, trying to help them get themselves going and so forth. I thought that was one of the takeaways that we had. The pitching side of it. Obviously there's things that you can control and things that you can't. One of the things you can't control is injuries and who's available to pitch. And so that's uncontrollable. What is controllable is those that are pitching, with things that they can improve upon, and I think Coach Angier's clearly addressing those things with those guys. And so, it's been productive to look at the tape and review the tape with some student athletes and seek for improvement.
I don't think I've asked you before, but what does the tape process look like for you guys? Like, how does that go about?
It doesn't stop. It's the tape process is probably too extensive, to be honest with you. But you're trying to take a lot of information and make it simple because you have 20 hours a week for student athletes. That's the rules. 4 a day. You can't violate rules. That's not something we're about. And so you need to take a simple concept or maybe a concept that's challenging and make it simple for a student athlete and of a time-friendly value. Mm-hmm. And so showing people that and maybe taking the amount of time that it takes to invest in it. Basically what you're asking is this: when is time available or the videotape available after a game? It's basically available after the game, right after the game. And so it takes probably a half hour to watch the pitching side of it, another half hour to watch the hitting side of it, and then to go into it in great detail, quite a bit more time. You're doing it for scouting the opponent. You're also doing it for the pros and cons of what your pitchers or hitters are doing.
What did you guys feel like you needed to improve offensively this week? You still scored 18 runs in 3 games, which would have liked a little more, but still not bad.
It doesn't matter if you score 18 or 5 or 3. If you win 1-0 3 times, I'd take that more than scoring 18 and going 0-3. And so, at the end of it, it's about a win or a loss. Things to take out of the tape when it comes to the offensive pieces. I mean, you're just looking to clean up. There's things we did exceptionally well. The way we ran the bases in terms of the stolen base, stealing bases and exposing the opponent that way was tremendous. Being aggressive at the right time was lacking. We were aggressive when we were losing late in the game that cost us some opportunities. Where early in the game we were aggressive getting into the runners into scoring position and needed to maybe execute at-bats better. With situational hitting with a guy on third and nobody out or a guy on third and 1 out type at bat. So, addressing those things with student athletes and showing them maybe where they went wrong with their approach to where they can, basically execute those situational at bats better this coming weekend.
Coach Burke on the Pac-12 broadcast said Jace is dealing with some finger injury, some nerve thing in there. Just what's his status going into this weekend and how is he progressing?
Well, I mean, all I'm told is he keeps progressing. He will be traveling with us on the road trip. He traveled with us to USC. He was on that road trip as well. We're going to make a decision on when he's active and what's going on when more information we get. He's progressing. I don't know. I'm a little bit skittish on the fact that he'll be ready for this weekend. I would bet that he's not. Mm-hmm. But I know he's feeling as though the Pac-12 tournament would clearly be a place where he's feeling more comfortable with. And ultimately, it's a feel thing for him. I can't speed that curve up with an injury. Injuries are injuries. And whenever he feels like, he's in a place where he can compete at 100% level, that we're all for.
Seemed like there was a 1 to 2 week timeline for Isaac Ayon the last time we talked. So last week, just what's his status? And again, going into this Utah series,
he's progressed and passed every test so far. Usually these guys with these arm injuries, they have a setback somewhere in there. And so far, knock on wood, we haven't had a setback. But, again, these are things that he's not going through just like, he's got a headache, take a couple aspirin and he'll be okay. Nevertheless, he's passed the tests that he needs to pass. Hopefully he can, be available at least for the Pac-12 tournament. And then potentially, we have to play well, but through a postseason run. So that's what our intentions are. And we'll learn more by the day, obviously.
What about Austin Anderson? Any updates on how he's doing?
again, same kind of scenario. He's been out for a couple weeks and it's hurt. That's a guy who's got less than a 1 ERA for you, and not being available is a big deal. Even if he's just a 1 inning guy or a 1 inning a couple times a weekend guy, that's huge, and he's been effective. So far, I don't want to jinx anything, but it sounds like he's not only going to travel with us, but should be ready to go for this weekend. Every day we learn more.
Jacob Walsh got a couple opposite field hits, including a 2-run homer and then the double, I think, in the 8th inning. Just how important is it for him to try to take the ball opposite field and get a swing back in line?
Yeah, and then it seems like the pull swing shows up, doesn't it? I don't know. I mean, it's funny how hitting is when you stay on the ball, and then it seems like the entire swing comes together for him. It sure seemed that way with Jacob, and he had a really good Sunday. Hopefully he can continue that. When a guy like him gets hot, or an offense with as many good hitters as there are in this offense, when they get hot, they can really carry a team. And, when you're going through the injury bug on the pitching side of it, then you're looking for your offense to step up. And this is an offense that can do that and carry us. And boy, this is the right time to do it.
Is there an update on Dallas as well? The guy who
he's going to travel with us, same kind of thing. We haven't had a practice yet this week for us to know the specifics of how he's doing and what he's feeling. But he's going to travel with us this week. And I know his mind is he should be able to compete right away.
Sabine's been DHing the last couple of games. Any chance he gets into the field, or you feel comfortable with Drew Smith there and DHing Sabine?
Well, again, I'm not sure. I mean, when Sabine, one of the tells for me was when he put a ball in the gap. And I think that if he was feeling great, he would have put the ball in the gap and probably went for 2. He put the ball in the gap and was fairly comfortable with 1. And that's not because the kid doesn't want to go to second. I mean, my goodness, we've seen him be so aggressive that everybody holds their breath when he's running from first to second at times with some of his aggressiveness. He plays with that passion. So I think we'll know that answer by just watching his play. If he starts going for it more on those balls that are the in-between balls, then we'll know that it's time for him to be in the field and playing. And until then, Drew's played plenty good enough to be out there.
In 2 months, the NCAA fiscal year will reset, and I think the last time I asked you about an additional coach on the staff was probably 2 months ago. Just any update on that and adding on to your staff, or maybe retaining Marcus Hinkle?
I love Coach Hinkle, and so as soon as we learn more about funding and all that kind of stuff, and what the intentions of the university, my bosses tell me we're going to do everything that we possibly can do to compete for championships at the Pac-12 level, and I've never questioned what they tell me. They've been great. So I love Marcus Hinkle. I want to retain him. I'd love to be able to do everything we can for that position.
A lot of injuries, obviously, to your pitching side of the ball. Just have you and Angie talked about a rotation? Will it look similar to what it was this past weekend against Washington?
Too early to tell. Not sure. I would anticipate probably starting Logan Mercado on game 1. I'm not sure about the rest of the weekend and how to best utilize the arms that we have available. And quite candidly, even if there were guys that I could say, yeah, this guy should be starting, this guy should be starting. I mean, at this time of year, we're at a point where it's win today. It's win. If you got a game today, let's win that one. Let's get to tomorrow when we get to tomorrow. More so than just planning out a 3-game weekend. This is playoff time. It's time, day to day, win today.
Did you learn anything more from the tape about what went wrong with pace on Saturday?
What went wrong with pace? I think Washington did a really good job of hitting this weekend. I credit Coach Boyer like I did before in a press conference. I think he did a marvelous job getting his hitters prepared, and they were hot. I think it's really hard to keep hitters hot. You get them hot for a weekend or two, and then, it can be fickle. But I think this last weekend he did a tremendous job of preparing those guys. I didn't think Jackson Pace's percentages were bad whatsoever. He got hit, and, I don't think I've ever experienced that type of inning before. I don't want to experience it again on the wrong side of it. On the offensive side, I wouldn't mind it. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm sure they had a lot of fun with that inning, but I don't know. I think in that situation, it might have been a lot more to Washington's credit than somebody else's blaming somebody else.
You guys head out to Utah for a 3-game series to finish out the regular season. Just overall, what have you seen from them? They're 11-8 at home, 8-19 on the road. Just what are the difficulties of playing them at home?
Beautiful ballpark they play in. They feature more left-handed on the mound than maybe any other Pac-12 team. They've got 2 guys with double-digit home runs, one left, one right, that both can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and they score in bunches when they score. It's it sounds to me like the weather should be nice in Utah this weekend. That should be fantastic, and we're just looking forward to getting out there and playing against them.
The Utes first baseman Jaden Kiernan, 4'11" this year. I know we've kind of talked about how you don't try to limit just one guy. You want to limit everybody on from your pitching staff. But how do you go about limiting him, as he's clearly the Utes' best hitter?
I don't know that he's clearly the Utes' best hitter. He's one of several hitters that are really good. You've got, a couple other guys that are really good as well. Another guy named Kopp that's right-handed that I think he hit a ball against Oregon State that hasn't landed yet. That was a pretty big shot for those guys in the arm on a Friday night. They've also got another left-handed hitter that's a tremendous left-handed hitter with double-digit home runs. So they've got, it isn't just one or two guys that make that thing go, and they've been able to score some runs. As a matter of fact, they were involved in, I think, a 40 or 50 run game this year. And so for them to be able to score that many in a game, yeah, they gave up a lot, I guess, that night. But still, that's a lot of runs. That's hard to do. And these guys can score in bunches, and they're going to be good. We need to be up to the test.
You say it's postseason time. It's obviously Pac-12 tournament coming up. Finish the regular season. Just after this sweep against Washington, what's your message to the team probably going forward as once you guys get into practice this week?
Improvement. We need to get better. It's hard because, you've got guys that are, they don't want to lose. And yet sometimes when you win 3 games, a lot of things can get hidden. When you lose 3 games, a lot of things can get hidden as well. You're just trying to recenter them and get them back onto the now, really reflecting on the negatives and stuff like that and reliving them over and over again to where it brings a negative feeling to a practice or whatever that is going to keep you from improvement is the devil. You can't have it. And so it's really about improvement. And what are we going to do? What adjustments are we going to do to improve? Getting on the tape, making sure that the adjustments that the coaching staff have identified get addressed and addressed immediately. And it literally is back to this week and back to Thursday's opening series game against Utah. We need to win that game and put our best foot forward doing it.